Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone's having a terrific afternoon. I'd like to take a moment first to introduce myself. I'm Ken Rowe. I'm the broker in charge for the Isle of Palms office. I've been in the business for about 15 years. I've managed 10 and have done many listing presentations through the years. What I'm about to expose you to is a sample listing presentation. Any listing presentation is a process, and it's always a process and works. But what I'm going to present to you today is a basic listing presentation of which I would hope that each agent would elaborate on, add their personal stuff, etc. So with that saying, there's a few presumptions that we need to make before we go into this. Couple of things. First of all, please save your questions until the end of the webinar and use the webinar control panel when you ask the questions. Also, too, I hope everyone can hear me. Hope the sound is strong. And if it isn't, please respond to Stokes. Excuse me?
Chat questions.
Or
with the chat of the question.
you can type in the question and let us know if the sound is good or bad in the webinar control panel, okay? So with that said, going into the presentation, I'm presuming that this is a cold client. I don't know them. The client was referred to me by a person within my sphere of influence. And again, I know nothing about the client. So what I do prior to going for the full listing presentation is I send a pre-listing package. That pre-listing package will contain a personalized letter from me. It will contain my personal brochure, which talks about, it has a bio about me. It also has various market information stats, the various areas I sell in. And then what I really enjoy about this is that who pays who is on the back, how we realtors are compensated. And I'll be happy to give anyone a copy of this. I also send the client, possible client, a sample newsletter that I send out as part of my marketing. Okay? So with that said, again, this is a cold call client. I sent them my pre-listing package to introduce myself. And with that said, I've called up and I made an appointment. And I'm on my way to my appointment. And knock, knock. I go into the home, introduce myself, try to break a little, what I call break the ice, a little humor, and just talking a little bit to get to know them. And then I asked the client if he would take me around the house and show me some of the special features that sold him on the house, or anything that he'd like to expose to me, positive or negative. And I do carry along with me a notepad, okay? And with that said, too, this is a tech-savvy client, so we'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation instead of printing up a package and bringing it with me, okay? So again, I've already introduced myself to the seller. We've walked around the house. We've broken the ice. I've made a couple compliments, and now we're getting into the presentation, okay? So with that said, my seller, by the way, is named Mr. Stokes. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and start. So, Mr. Seller, we're sitting at the kitchen table. I've asked for a glass of water. Again, we warmed up. And what I'd like to do is, Mr. Stokes, I'd like to give you my presentation as an agent owner with AgentOwned Real Estate Company. Okay? So let's get started. What are our meeting objectives? Today, what we'd like to get accomplished is I'd like to discuss and understand your needs and expectations, and if you don't mind, I will take notes. And understanding today's real estate market, I'd like to explain to you what's going on in today's real estate market and why it's a buyer's market, okay? And then why work with AgentOwned Realty, okay? And what can I offer you as your realtor? And then most importantly, what I believe is most important is positioning and pricing your home. Okay. Any questions, Mr. Stokes? Thank you. So let's start with your needs, Mr. Stokes. Why are you selling? And then he'll explain to me why he's selling and what his motivations are, et cetera, et cetera. When do you need to move? And this is important because if I understand when you need to move, then the marketing and pricing will all follow that. What was the thing that sold you on this home? What was the most important aspect of this home and why you purchased it? That will help me in my marketing. What would you be looking for in a new home? Okay, and I take notes the whole time. What do you owe on the property? Okay, so you owe $250. Okay. Is there anything else you would like to share with me about the home? Do you have extra mortgages? Are there any encumbrances or liens? Are there any homeowners association assessments I should know about, et cetera, et cetera? Okay. Any questions, Mr. Stokes? Thank you. I'd like to talk with you about how people search for a home today, because this is very, very important. The climate has changed, and 90% of all home buyers you can see start on the internet. AgentOwned is a very tech-savvy company. As you can see, when you list your home with AgentOwned in Kenro, you will, at a minimum, get 40 different websites that your home will be exposed on, starting with AgentOwned.com, and then it expands out from there to Zillow, Trulia, the real estate book, realestate.com, realtor.com. You can see we have many, many sites, many portals where your home can be exposed. Okay, any questions? Thank you. 95% of buyers are going to be using a real estate professional to help them purchase a home when they come into the area. Our agents at the Isle of Palms office have a minimum average of 15 years experience. So we're very experienced. How are buyers influenced? Well, most importantly, buyers are influenced by price. That's why it's critically important that we price it correctly. Secondly, it's the conditioning of the home. Your home looks to be in very good condition, but it's very, very important. First impressions are the most important. Then any incentives we might offer, whether it be closing costs or any other types of incentives, bonuses for agents, etc. And then our marketing plan, which I'll go into in just a moment. Okay? Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Let's first let's look at a market overview so you can better understand what's going on in the market. This is a very important graph. This is an important graph to understand. And guys, in the webinar, let me take a moment to explain to you that this graph is probably not legible for you. I will get you a copy of this that's legible because the numbers have been shrunk. But this is a really good graph to show a seller the importance of pricing. I will do my best to explain this to you, but we'll more than likely have a webinar on just this graph alone. Again, this is an absorption rate graph. And to boil it down, it basically shows you how much product we have, how much product was sold, and how long it will take to sell all that product, or what I call absorb that product. Let's start with the far left. And again, I know the numbers are difficult to see, but what it's showing you here is we have 135 active listings. Okay, that's in the blue. Far left, there it is. Okay, we have 457 solds, and this is only in the past 14 months. And again, this is because of this price range. There's a lot of new home product in there that's listed and sold, so that's why our solds are much higher than our actives. But you'll see the average sold days on the market is 106. And then most importantly, the absorption rate shows me that I have about a 3-month inventory. Well, Mr. Seller, what that's telling me is that's where most of the activity is. And as you can see, that's why the inventory in these areas are the highest, and also the sales are the highest. The blue is high, that's active inventory. The red is sold inventory. So you can see the rate as the price goes up, inventory reduces, but so does sales. But again, the important number to take from this exercise is the absorption time. How long is it going to take to absorb X number of listings in X number of months? If I move to the very far right, which is indicative of the Isle of Palms market, you can see the blue line represents 171 listings over 2.5 million. The second box is showing me that there were 9 sales in over 2.5 million in the last 14 months. It's taking on the average of 143 days in this price range to sell the home. And then, because of the number of units versus the number of units selling, we basically have 114 months of inventory. As you can see, pricing in that category is even more critical. But Mr. Seller, your home is in the 250 price range. As you can see in the 250 price range, it's difficult to see again, guys. It's a pretty balanced market. We're running about a 12-month inventory in the 250 price range. Can't hardly see it, Stokes, but you're on it. Farther over there. That's it. That's it right there. And if you go to the bottom, we're running about a 12-month inventory. Okay? So it's taking about 12 months to sell a home in that price range based on this data. Okay? And again, I'll have it at webinar just on this particular information alone. And there will be a lot of questions on this, guys. It's a very good graph. Not hard to produce. Okay? Any questions, Mr. Seller? Great. Now let's talk about the comparative market analysis for your home. A comparative market analysis is basically what it says. I'm comparing your home to similar homes with similar features in your neighborhood. If I can't find them in the neighborhood, I go to a neighborhood of similar style homes, etc. And of course, your home's in Park West, and I'm using this particular neighborhood because everything is very similar. So you can see right now we're running, next slide please, 3 actives, 1 contingent, 1 pending, and we have, I believe, 3, one more slide, 3 solds. So here's the important page, Mr. Seller. This is the cumulative data here. So we're showing 4 active listings in your neighborhood. The average listing is $138 a square foot, around $249.9. Okay. We have 1 pending, and you can see $244.5. It was listed for $155 a square foot, and that's what it's pending at, but we don't know that because we don't have the closed paperwork yet. The most important data is the sold data, Mr. Seller. We have 3 solds. The average is $220. Now here's what's important. The average sale is $98 a square foot. Okay? To the far right, you can see the average days on the market for solds are 104 days. Now, what I'd like to discuss with you is using this data to price your home and price it what I believe is in the range that will generate an offer. And if we go to the bottom, you'll see $125 per square foot is an average of all of that. My expertise tells me even that's still a little bit high, Mr. Seller, and I understand that's not what you want to hear. But my suggestion is we start right around $115 a square foot. That'll put us closer to the sold data, and I believe it'll generate an offer quicker. How do you feel about that, Mr. Seller? I understand. I understand you want as much as out of your home as possible in the shortest amount of time possible. In order to achieve that, that's why we need to price it at around $115 a square foot. Okay? Great. Super. Why agent-owned realty? Well, first of all, we have over 500 agents in our agent-owner company. We have been agent-owned since 1992, but the owners of our company, Liz and Boyd Logal, have been in the real estate business since, I believe, the early 80s, if not 78. So we've been around a long time, and we plan to be around a long time. Our company is the only company in the area, or one of the very few companies in the area, that's actually growing and not shrinking. Over the past couple years, we've opened, I believe, 7 offices, and we now have 14 offices. We have experienced professionals, and as I mentioned to you, Mr. Seller, The agents within this office have over 15 years experience each. We also have one-stop shopping, so we can offer title work, insurance work. We can offer the buyers mortgages. We can offer buyers and sellers home warranties. So we have a lot of services we can offer you. And also another important factor is we have 14 offices around the state that any of our agents can use. Okay? Any questions, Mr. Seller? Thank you. Now, my marketing plan. This is my marketing plan, Mr. Seller. Any ideas that you might have, I would appreciate, because as we go into this venture, it's a partnership. Okay? And it's going to take both of us. This is my preliminary marketing plan I would like to propose to you. First of all, of course, we'll put a yard sign in a flyer box. Believe it or not, most sales and most buyers see the yard sign today. We'll also, as I told you earlier in the presentation, it'll go on to AgentOwned.com plus 38 of the most popular real estate websites. I'll create custom flyers with very high quality photography. I'll produce and mail out just listed postcards to your entire neighborhood, and also my personal sphere of influence, which is over 400 people. I will do an e-blast to over 3,000 I will do an e-blast to over 3,000 of the active real estate agents in Charleston. Mr. Seller, there's over 5,000 real estate agents. I will also run ads in the Post and Courier. With that Post and Courier, it will go on to their website, which is charleston.net, which also goes out to various websites. That's an important marketing tool. I will create quality photographs for the multiple listing service. With that, I'll create a slideshow and or a virtual tour, and all of that will be loaded on multiple listing. Each week, I create a marketing activity report. And of that marketing activity report, I will call you every week and email you the results of the marketing, showings, and any other data that I feel is important to you, such as solds in the neighborhood, any new listings, any new for sale by owners. It will be a complete activity report, which is the frequent market updates. It's included in that marketing activity report. What's important in the very first couple weeks of listing is we'll hold an agent open house. I typically bring some snacks and beverages. It does attract people. And this is where we'll invite the top, most active real estate agents in the area, invite them to your house to look at it, to analyze it, and to give us feedback. That's usually during the weekday, Mr. Stokes. On the weekends, I hold general public open houses, Saturday or Sunday, or sometimes both, depending on what your schedule is and what your needs are. But this is important too because it brings a lot of people through the house. Okay? Any input, Mr. Seller? Any comments? Great, thank you. Why me, Mr. Seller? Why have you chosen me? Well, first of all, my communication. You will hear from me every week. I will communicate with you every time the house is shown. Every time I do a different type of marketing blast, you will get a copy of it. My experience, again, as I told you, I've been in the business over 15 years. Over those 15 years, I've sold well over 200 homes. I've handled commercial real estate. I've handled property management. I've managed well over 100 real estate agents. And that is my experience and expertise. I'm born and raised here in Charleston, educated at the College of Charleston in Bishop, England. I know the area well. Any buyers that agent-owned agents bring through, or myself, will be completely qualified, and you will have that documentation. I will negotiate only in your best interest. Any legal documents will be presented and explained in detail to you. I will coordinate from start to finish. Any privacy is paramount. Any of your documentation will be kept in private. My performance guarantee, Mr. Stokes, is if at any time you're not satisfied with the level of my expertise and work or my company's, an email to me and I will withdraw your listing immediately. Okay? That's my performance guarantee. If you don't like the work I do, you can withdraw from our employment contract, our listing agreement. And then, of course, you receive my references in my personal brochure. I'm happy to answer any questions on those references. And please, Mr. Stokes, feel free to call any of my references directly. And as you see in my introductory letter, there are a couple of reference letters in there. Okay? Questions, Mr. Stokes? Great. Okay. My pledge to you, and as my company and myself, my pledge to you is I'll explain all the steps involved in the selling process, completely and thoroughly. I pledge to understand your goals and represent them in all the negotiations. I pledge to return your calls promptly. I will assist you with all related services, mortgage, inspections, etc. I pledge to keep you updated on all market changes and activity through my marketing activity report. I pledge to do all I can to make this entire process as smooth and as pain-free as possible. In short, we're the only company that can pledge to deliver to you the service that only an owner can give. Questions? Great. You understand the price we would like to list at? Are you comfortable with that? Great. So the big question is, let's talk about the competition, let's talk about the pricing, and let's see where we land out, okay? So, guys, listen carefully. I use this as kind of just a ballpark, but what I do is I go through each one and check off the pros and cons, okay? And if you take the left corner 1 through 12 and add it up, you'll see 12 to 8 points is competitive. 8 to 4 is average. Anything under 4 is a discounted property. So we're going to go through it. And I'll say location. He's in Park West. He's in a cul-de-sac. That's a pro. Check. Okay? Landscaping looks great. He's put in new flowers. That's a check. Age of the house isn't too old. It's only about 10. That's a pro. Check. Kitchen, a little bit outdated, guys. That's a con. Check. Appliances, outdated. Check. Bathrooms, not bad. We just need to paint, etc. I would still put a con there. Check. Flooring looks pretty good. Positive. Check. HVAC, fairly new. Check. Good. Paint, that's going to be a con because we need to paint. Walls are pretty scuffy. Boom. The roof is in good shape. Great. The crawl space, we've done our pre-CL 100, and it looks good. That's a check. Good. Electrical and plumbing is all good. No no polybutylene with the wrong fittings. Check. Looks good. Okay, so I'm going to take those, all the pros, I'm going to add it up, and it looks like I'm coming up with about a 10. So we're in a competitive price range, Mr. Seller, with the price. I recommend we get started right away. Let's go through the listing paperwork, and here it is. But before we do that, it's important you understand, and I know we've agreed to the price, but it's important you understand why we determine that price and why it's important we price it here. This graph shows in the top bell curve is the first 14 days of the marketing. That's the most important time in marketing, Mr. Seller. The reason I say that is because the people looking for the houses in this area tend to be qualified, savvy. The agents are savvy. They know homes that are priced right, and they will wait to find it. That first 14 days is critical. Okay? You'll see where the arrow's pointing to the wheeler dealers. That's the latter half of the 14 days. If we make it to that point, this is where we start attracting wheeler dealers. They want to negotiate. They want to look at everything on the market, and they'll walk away with a whim's notice. Okay? Bargain hunters is 28 days out. If we haven't generated an offer, if we haven't generated substantial showings by the 28th day, we're either overpriced. In most cases, that is the case. We're not marketing enough. In this area, at 28 days, typically attracts bargain hunters. They're looking for just reduced size, must sell, and after 38 days, generally expect 30% below the price that we list at. Any questions here, Mr. Seller? That's why I determined the price we did. Okay? Questions? Thank you. So let's get started. How can I help you achieve your goals? Okay, guys, that's where I go into the listing paperwork. That's where I start pulling it out, and I explain in detail all of the paperwork. I try not to spend more than 30 minutes on a listing presentation. And again, as I told you, this is a cold call listing presentation. If this was a close sphere of influence, I might not get as detailed. But because I don't know this person, I want to bring as much information to the table as possible and impress as much as possible. So let's get into some questions, guys. Questions about any of the listing data. And I know some of the graphs need to be fine-tuned. I will fine-tune those, and those graphs we will present on their own. Okay? Anybody out there with questions? John Crowley, you out there?
Yeah.
Claude Oldhole, I know you got a question for me, Claude.
Let's see. Fast, give me time.
Okay, we're waiting for a question. Here we go.
Does the chart with the price per square foot come out of your MLS?
Okay, the question is, does the chart with the price per square foot come out of MLS? Correct. Yes, it does. It sure did. It came directly out of MLS. All the data that I presented to you on that absorption rate graph, Kim, and the CMA came directly out of MLS. And Kim, I'm happy to work with you individually to show you how it works. It's a very good, strong graph. Kim is in Sumter. Thank you. Next question. Also, too, guys, this will be loaded up on the Google Docs. It'll be available to everybody on
Charleston.info.
Charleston.info. Go to charleston.info, and it will be loaded up, and that way you can print it. And I would expect that you would add your own personal bio, your own personal information, your own personal pre-listing package to this, along with your own CMA, et cetera. And I can show you how to produce an absorption rate graph.
Would love to learn about the absorption rate graphs.
Okay, so we have a question that someone would love to learn about the absorption rate graph. Again, that's a lot of information. I will need to schedule a webinar on that by itself with better graphics.
How would you change your marketing plan after 14 days?
How would I change my well?
Other than the price.
How would I change my marketing plan after 14 days? Good question. I typically start up again and start over again at the top. But I will, a lot of that stuff won't happen within the first 14 days, agent open houses, et cetera, et cetera. But after 14 days, what I like to do is put together a group of experienced agents with the seller's permission and with preparing the seller properly. And I typically bring over 6 to 10 experienced agents in the area. And we'll do what's called a individual home analysis. And each one of those agents will do their own market analysis and their own plan and present it to me, and I present it back to the seller. That's where the strength of our company comes in. And I typically are doing that within the first month if I haven't sold it within the first 14 to 28 days. Next question.
What is the website again?
The website again is Charleston.info. Charleston.info. We don't have it loaded up yet, guys. There's still some things I need to fine tune on it, but I think within the next week we'll have it loaded up for you and everyone can use it.
That's the agent resources on our website.
Agent resources is on our website. And again, the website's again?
Charleston.info. I mean, it's AgentOwned.info or AgentOwned.com.
AgentOwned.info or AgentOwned.com, and then go to Agent Resources, and that's where you're going to find the listing presentation. And again, we've had several questions about the absorption rate graph. I'll talk with Stokes about doing a webinar just just on the absorption rate graph. And I have some other graphs that I'd like to input in here too, but it's a lot of data. And again, how I present this listing presentation is determined on how close I know the person. Excuse me. Any other questions?
One more. You arrived at a cold call listing with the CMA, and
It's the question. You arrived at a cold call. Put that up on the screen. Okay, the question is you arrived at a cold call listing with a CMA and a
price per square foot
sales. Please give your prelude to obtaining the same.
Yeah.
You arrived at a cold call listing with the CMA. Not quite sure what the answer is, but yes, I did arrive. I mean, I'm not quite sure what the question is, but yes, I do have a CMA within my listing presentation. And the reason I do is this is, again, with the pre-listing package, I'm going into this presentation to take this listing at the end of the presentation, so I want to be prepared. And I'm going into this with the assumption that I'm not competing with a lot of agents because it was a referral from my sphere of influence. So, and again, with the CMA, that's going to be a long conversation with the seller. I certainly wouldn't go through it as quickly as I did with you guys. Okay? Next question. I think that's it, guys. Again, I have more graphs to put in here. I will, and I'll coordinate with Stokes and Liz to do the absorption rate webinar. I also have some other graphs, but I didn't want to overwhelm everyone right away. But I have some great sample sales and inventory history for specific neighborhoods. And again, I'm putting this data into the CMA because I know that I'm dealing with a detail-oriented, engineer-type young person that wants to see all of that. Okay?
Another question?
How to customize
The presentation.
how to customize the presentation for a cold call.
Not in the not a referral.
Basically, I would do the same thing for a cold call because again, this was a referral, but I didn't know who they were. So I would do the same presentation with as much material about myself, pre-listing package, about my company, presentation, and about the data within the neighborhood. I would elaborate on that with a cold call as much information as I can give them. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you got something out of it. We will have this loaded up on the AgentOwned.com agent resources. It'll be a fully complete package with the exception of your personal information and your market data. That's what you will put in, okay? Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great afternoon.